I get a question quite regularly from people, hey, should I buy a used aquarium? Is it worth it? Is it worth the risk to buy a used aquarium? I saw one in my neighborhood that's a super good deal, but I'm just afraid that, it might be too good to be true. Like I might buy that tank and it leaks or something like that. Should I even bother taking the risk? Well, that's what I'm gonna address in this video, because I've got some really good examples of tanks that were bought used and have given me no problems whatsoever. This one right here is the one to start it all off. This is Lisa's discus tank right now, but before that it was an African cichlid tank, it was a fry grow out tank, it was an arowana tank for a little bit and had an Oscar and a couple other things in it. I had stingrays in this tank, and this was bought used. I bought this tank in 2010. It's 2022 now. It's almost 2023 when I'm filming this video. And I bought this in 2010. It was a complete setup with a stand. I don't remember if it had filters, but it came with lights, it came with lids, it came with some decorations that the guy was just trying to get rid of. And it was, I think I paid $300 for this. And let me just tell you something. This tank has been moved, I thought about it earlier today, at least 8 times from one place to another. It's moved from one state to another. We had to move it to our shop when we had that and then move it back to the house when that didn't work out. We moved it to another house, we moved it here. It's moved so many times, and that doesn't include moving it from this side of the room to the other. I'm just talking about from one location to another 8 times at least. And I've never had one single drop of water leak from that tank. I'm telling you, it's a fact. Now, I did not take the time, because I'm an idiot, to turn on the lights for Lisa's other discus tank, but this is a 125-gallon tank that was given to us by a friend of ours that he was just kind of taking a break from the hobby and he wanted to let it go. And so he brought it over and we didn't even pay a dime for it. Again, this tank hasn't moved as many times, but I think it's moved 6 times. We didn't have this tank in our shop, but we had it in several basements and whatever. I think it's moved at least 6 times. Not one leak. And there's also nothing wrong with the glass as far as the buildup, the white, nasty, crusty stuff that's so hard to get off. We never really had that issue there. So that's the good. Okay, but I have had one bad. Now, I'm gonna try to put some footage of it over me right here while we're talking about this. I bought an 8-foot by 2-foot by 2-foot tank also back in 2010. And that was the tank that we had 2 arowanas in. That's the one that one of them jumped out on Father's Day, and that was a real heartbreaker. But 2 30-inch arowanas in that tank. That tank was a disaster. It was a wreck from the very beginning. There were leaks, there were cracks, it was terrible, but that's a 240-gallon aquarium that I bought for $100. Here's how that went. Saw an ad on Craigslist, the guy said 150-gallon aquarium. Didn't put measurements on it or anything like that. I went down there, I was looking at it, and I had my oldest stepson with me, because, muscle, and I said, this dude doesn't know what he has. Because he listed it as 150 gallon, but as soon as I looked at it, I said, that's 8 by 2 by 2. That's a 240. That's much more than 150. And so a 240 gallon aquarium for sale for $100, I couldn't pass that up. I was willing to take the risk, and it definitely was a risk that worked out. I mean, it was fine, but we did have our issues with it. I had to fix a couple of leaks and stuff like that. So what I'm getting at here is sometimes you can buy a used aquarium and it works out really well. I mean, you never have a single leak like Lisa's discus tank, like Lisa's other discus tank. And we've got several others here too that were purchased used off Craigslist that, were a dime a dozen, and they've all worked out really well except for that one 240. So what I would advise you, if you're thinking about buying a used aquarium and you're wondering whether it's worth the risk, here's some things I would keep in mind. If you have the time, and if the seller is willing to commit his or her time to this, sure, see if you can fill it up on site with water before you buy it. Particularly if you're buying something, 75 gallons or larger. If you're going to buy a used 10-gallon tank, I mean, I don't know that that's really worth it, because you can buy a brand new one for $10 and you don't have to worry about that stuff, and it has a warranty. But if you're buying a larger tank and maybe it looks a little rough and you want to check it out, then I would definitely see if you can fill it up with water. And if the person won't let you, gauge their response. Like, hey, I just took all the water out of this yesterday. I don't really have time. My baby's crying or whatever. Maybe they won't be willing to do it. You're just going to have to make a judgment. Like if the tank is completely bone dry and it looks like it's been in the garage for 6 years and they're trying to rush you out the door, you might not want to mess with that one. I don't know. You're going to be the one looking at it, so you're the only one that can judge whether or not that's going to work out for you. But for me, I know I looked at them and I just kind of did a general assessment of them, and I was like, yeah, that's going to be good. Let's go. Let's take it. Usually it was really good deals. Like, I think we bought a 75-gallon tank with a stand, with a canister filter, with lights, with everything. Even gravel was in it. I think we paid like $40 for it. So, that was worth the risk. If it leaked, I would reseal it. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's not like I was buying the tank because I had to put fish in it that very night. So if you're in a situation where you do have to do that, though, I would definitely see if the person will fill it up with water just to give it a little test drive and see what happens. But I feel like if you're going to buy a used aquarium, it really should be probably 55 gallons or larger, because everything below that you can get at the $1 per gallon sale at Petco. Get that warranty. You don't have to worry about it. That's just me. I understand not everybody is able to do that. Maybe you come across a 10-gallon tank for a quarter at a garage sale. You have to do that. I don't care who you are. You have to spend that quarter and get that. And if it leaks, so what? You can cut it up and make lids out of it or something. I mean, sometimes the deals are too much to pass up. We have had those. I never bought a 10-gallon for a quarter, but we've had those deals that are just too much. They're just too good to pass up. And with those, you just have to ask yourself, are you willing to take the risk? Used tanks have worked out really well for me. That one was a problem, but still I felt like a king because I had an 8-foot long, massive 240-gallon tank with arowanas in it. To me, it was absolutely worth the hassle that I had with that. So you have to ask yourself that question. Is the deal good enough? Will it hold water? Is the person going to let me fill it up? Now listen, if I was selling you that tank right there, 240 gallons, and I was giving you a super good deal on it, my cats are going at it. Hey, you need to knock it off. Everybody thinks you're so sweet. They have no idea. You are cute though. You're a cute guy. If I'm selling you this and I'm giving you a super good deal on it and you ask me to fill it up, I'm going to tell you no. Because that's going to take 2 hours and then I have to drain it. No, I'm not going to do that. Look how thick the silicone in it. It's an inch thick. No, it doesn't leak. I'm not giving you a warranty on it because I'm giving you a good deal, but I'm also not going to fill it up with water. There you go. That's the advice that I would give. Visual inspection, trust your gut, and just see what happens. For me, it's worked out really well. For you, I hope it works out well too, but you never really know until you try. With the cost of aquariums these days, and with as many people that bounce from this hobby, there's a lot of used aquariums for sale, so I get it. You know what? Take the risk. It's worked out well for me, and I'm sure it'll work out well for you. So good luck on your search for a used aquarium, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.